Hey, what's up everybody? It's Vapexhale of Vapexhale. Today we got an extra special guest. I'm with Joe Kerr of the Phog Center. We're going to do a power round of 4 questions, and what's a little bit different about the power round is before each question, Mr. Kerr is going to take a dab.
Indeed.
If you could only consume flower or concentrate for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
Well, if you'd asked me this a few years ago, it would have probably been answered with flour. But today, because of the quality of the extractions we're getting, because of the cleanness of it, the potency, my age, it's better for my lungs, and I learned that vaping is much healthier. And now that I've found products that give me the same three-dimensional kind of medication versus a lot of shatters and waxes that are very two-dimensional. They seem to be missing something.
I would say concentrates. So when I got back into smoking cannabis about 3.5 years ago, I was smoking flower. Did it for about, I want to say, a year. And I wasn't smoking regularly, but I was still coughing a lot. My sisters would tell me, you know, like, you should go to the doctor, you're coughing a lot at night. And I didn't think anything of it, but then I went on and made the change into a concentrate, started using dabs, and then the coughing went away completely.
The Phog Center, you've been open for a few years now. Do you mind sharing one of the wildest patient stories you can?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a lot of older folks in our collective, over 1,000 members, over 60. And we have a product called Love Potion number 9, which is a oil-based tincture that can be used topically or ingested, and it's pretty cool. And we had this older woman, 69, 68, something like that, come in, and so, you know, we give it to her. She gets it for herself, and just before she leaves, she gives me a hug, and she looks over and says, and I'll think about you when I use it, darling.
Oh, wow. How do you see seniors benefiting from cannabis?
A lot of seniors are very weary of cannabis. Getting introduced to it, either they've only done it once, you know, back in the day, and then they've never touched it ever again. And some people are afraid of you know, the bad edible trip and whatnot.
Right.
So one of the big things for us is educating them on finding their proper dose. We start them off low, 2.55 milligrams to start off. And we'll sit there with them. They can come in, we'll sit there with them back prior to the new regulations, we were able to medicate with them on site, but we would sit down with them and they would stay 2 hours if they needed to, and we would see how they would react.
It's a huge impact on their quality of life. Hundreds of conversations with seniors coming off of medications that had all these side effects, and using cannabis allowed them to get off of those. Improve their quality of life. They get out, they can walk, they can move easier. Inflammation, pain is dealt with very well. Plus there's a lot of information out there about Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, that it's affecting their quality of life, and it's a huge impact.
Where do you see the cannabis industry in 10 years?
Lots changed in a month in this state. We've gone from what was wonderfully entitled the Compassionate Care Act to a Bureau of Cannabis, to a government regulatory agency, and that is necessary. But somewhere in the transition, we've lost the compassion, and that's huge to me. So much so that I think we're going to have a huge corporate presence in 10 years.
Every last bit.
Always. But hopefully everything's legalized federally across the board, so we can get some good research studies done. That's very important. Everyone reacts differently to cannabis. It's never the same for anyone.
Right.
For example, I can eat 1,000 milligrams in edibles and function, go about my day, and doesn't affect me the same way as if, for example, you were to eat 1,000 milligrams. I don't know how you would react to that.
Right. That would probably hallucinate, crawl into a curled up ball.
So it all comes down to trial and error with everyone, to finding out what works for them, and hopefully with some federal research, it'd make it a little bit easier for people to find out rather than having bad experiences. But always approaching it slowly with any new patient is going to be important. But the research is ultimately what will advance us in that help.
Those community connections are going to be lost when cannabis is corporatized, and that's what's happened.
What do you think we could do to ensure that that community focus isn't lost?
Well, I think we have to stay active in small communities. My belief is education is everything, and as such, you know, I've transitioned. As of now, I'm no longer at the Phog Center. The Phog Center is run now and owned by our lead bud tender and prior manager, Jesus. And I've moved over to the Phog Foundation for the purpose of doing this, to continue this community connection and to keep people educated, to be a resource for the community, and a place that's safe for people to talk about it. Because in the new dispensaries, recreational is taking over. You know, you look at the big places in the city and there's lines out the door. It takes an hour to get in. I can guarantee that bud tender doesn't have time to spend 30 minutes with a patient and educate them. They're just pushing out weed. And I want to make sure we don't do that here.
Hopefully more and more dispensaries that come out will be following this model where you're not just doing another transaction, but you're helping people.